Scared of the dark. Story by Andrew Frankel. Susan was terrified of the dark. In fact, she couldn't sleep without leaving the lights on. If there was a storm, she actually preferred there to be lightning, because it helped to light the room. Power outages were a thing of nightmares, and blackouts were her worst fear. She wasn't sure why she hated the dark so much. She didn't think there were monsters under her bed or in her closet. She'd never been attacked or startled at night, either. There was just something weird about being in total darkness that freaked her out. Her parents worried about her fear, and they always tried to find ways to help her around it. They'd tried nightlights, but there had to be at least 2 of them, in case one burned out. They'd tried leaving the lights on and then coming back to turn them off after she fell asleep, but if she woke up, she'd always start crying. They'd also tried giving her a flashlight to keep beside her in case she got scared in the dark, but she went through batteries in one night. Her father had given up, but her mother kept trying to think of new things. One day, she came home with a big smile on her face and a shopping bag in her hands. "Guess what I've got?" she said to Susan. "I have no idea," Susan answered, feeling very curious about the bag. Susan's mother wore a secretive smile as she pulled 2 packages out of the shopping bag. The first, Susan discovered, was a pair of slippers that had flashing lights on them. The second package was a pair of glow-in-the-dark pajamas. "Wow!" Susan cried. "These are amazing." Even though it was only 4 o'clock, she tried them on immediately. They fit nicely, looked great, and they lit up very brightly. "Well?" her mother asked. "They're the best thing in the universe ever," Susan cried. She was so excited that she went to sleep immediately after dinner. The lights on her slippers blinked away happily, and the glow-in-the-dark pajamas kept her feeling safe and secure all night. It was several nights later before she realized she wasn't scared of the dark anymore, not even if the slipper light stopped flashing and her pajamas stopped glowing. The Crazy Bus Story by Andrew Frankel. The public school nearby has a terrible secret, the crazy bus. All the kids dreaded bus assignments at the beginning of each year, fearing they'd get put on the crazy bus. From the outside, it looked like any old yellow school bus, but once you climbed aboard, all bets were off. There was barbed wire over the windows to keep kids from trying to escape. The seat belts had been replaced with bungee cords. Then there were speakers that were always turned up to their loudest, to play some sort of weird old-fashioned music that only the cackling granny who drove loved. She was half-deaf and mostly blind, so every ride was a gut-wrenching, pulse-pounding adventure you weren't sure you'd survive. She laughed evilly and sped up every time someone's pet dog or cat walked across the street while she drove. There were black outline stickers on the side of the bus for all the animals she'd run over, probably 20 or 30 of them in all. The seats had been carved up by previous generations of students, making it hard to sit down comfortably. You were usually lucky if only one spring from the seat poked you when you sat down. If you were really unlucky, you'd fall through the seat and get scratched up and stuck to all the gum that seemed to hold the seats together. In the back of the bus, the kids had found a way to remove the half seat near the emergency exit. Instead, there was a hole they'd painstakingly cut through the floor. They'd take the new kids and dangle them down by their armpits, making them run along as the wheels turned. One kid's shoes actually caught fire because he had to run so fast for so long. If that seemed bad, the worst thing was getting off or on the bus before and after school. You never knew where the bus driver would stop. You had to be ready to sprint 2 or 3 blocks in any direction of your expected stop in the morning, or you'd miss the bus. One kid was known to carry a grappling hook to throw at the bus, so he could get towed on his skateboard and climb aboard a few blocks later. Getting off the bus usually required you to dive out the door and roll to a stop. Hopefully you didn't land on anything dangerous. The crazy bus was everyone's fear, but how much was reality, and how much was myth? I guess you'll just have to wait until you get your bus number this year. Reading a book. Story by Andrew Frankel. Jocelyn didn't have many friends, but she had lots of books. Books were better than friends sometimes. Books didn't get angry at you or argue with you. Books didn't feel sad when you didn't come see them for a while. Jocelyn liked fantasy books. They had lots of adventures. She felt like she was in them. She could be a princess or an adventurer. She could save the day. She could see lots of monsters and amazing places. There were mysteries to solve and battles to win. It was great to read about fantasy. Sometimes she liked history books, too. It was interesting to see how people used to live. It was strange to imagine how things used to be before all of the inventions we have today. She tried to imagine how hard life was a long time ago, and how nice it would have been to invent new things and discover new places. That was exciting. Jocelyn also liked science books. She liked books about animals and faraway places. Especially. There were so many different animals in the world. They came in every shape, size, and color. There were so many things that weren't even at the zoo. It was hard to think about how many different animals there were. It made her want to be a zoologist, so she could travel and see new animals living in strange places. She liked those kinds of books, but not girly romance books. She didn't care about drama and silly stuff. She was into the serious stuff. The best thing about books, though, was that you could share them. Jocelyn didn't have many friends, but the ones she did have liked books too. They could talk about them and share their ideas and thoughts. Books were great, but they were better with friends to talk to about them.